We be live.
We are. We should have a notification in 3, 2, 1. That's not what I wanted.
Ten seconds.
Here we go.
Cue the music.
This is Good morning and welcome to 21/6 The Net. We're here today with Bill Hossey and Innovative Strategies. It's a show designed to help people with financial literacy, but not in a way you've known. This is not your grandpa's financial literacy, as Bill uses his 30 plus years in the financial industry to stretch your financial box from a 30,000 foot view of things. Bill and his guests have helped hundreds of clients achieve and surpass their financial goals. If you have questions, email Bill at bill@billhossey.com or reach out to him at 216thenet@gmail.com. That's Bill at billhossey, HAASE.com. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Coach. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Thanks for the introduction. Thanks for coming in today. Filling in. Appreciate it.
That's not a problem. You'll be seeing a lot more of me around the net. I got caught in the net.
You did, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit here. We'll definitely be bringing that up. It's an interesting time. We got a new year, 2022. I mean, I'm still looking back and thinking, well, I remember when Prince came out with the song 1999, and it wasn't even 1999 yet.
Or George Orwell's 1984.
Well, right? And all the fears we had and the scares we had about changing year 2000. All the computers are going to fail.
Oh, Y2K, remember?
Y2K and all the money that was spent on that.
I was a plant manager at that time, and the things we had to do. And I'm sitting back going, are you telling me that these computer geniuses who built these weren't ready for one more year for the change?
Hey, we can relate it to kinds of things going on today, but I remember I was in the trading pits back then.
Yeah.
So fortunately, computers were not a big part of trading just yet. Not in the U.S. anyway.
Well, you're the guy running down the pit carrying tickets,
and you could sometimes we were doing that. A lot of times just hand signals in and out of the pit, screaming and hollering, and hand signals and things of that nature. But and lots of phones and things. But crazy times, and here we are again back in crazy times. But first of all, did you have a good Christmas? Good New Year's?
Oh, yeah. It was quiet. My wife had surgery on December 16th. Just a little light back surgery, 6-week recovery. So we were down. I got to experience cleaning the house and getting ready for the family in a way I'd never planned on before. She at one point said, "This is why women quite often don't get married when the husband dies, because they're used to doing all this stuff anyway.
Right.
But when the wife dies, the husband's got to go out and find another wife just to keep the house clean and the bed made."
Yeah, that would be the only reason. But it's funny because I spent this Christmas was the first time in 28 years that my wife and I were alone.
Wow.
So my daughter and her boyfriend, they came down with some pretty bad colds right beforehand, didn't want to come down and get us infected. And then family we were supposed to see for Christmas dinner. Some of them were not feeling well, so we did not get to participate in any family stuff. So it was just a nice low-key one. And we had to keep it that way because on New Year's, we went down to Dallas and and got to enjoy the moment in life when your
That's
son
right.
gets
Your
married.
son got married. How was
Yeah,
that?
it was absolutely fantastic. It was amazing. I felt like it was in the movie The Big Chill, just because the closeness of the friends, the groomsmen and the bridesmaids, and how close they all were. The minister performing the service is one of my son's best friends. I mean, how great does it get there? They wrote their own vows, and it was just a beautiful setting. New Year's Eve, fireworks going off in the background, and just an absolutely amazing experience.
Was it their fireworks or just
No, it
happened to
was
be?
the city of Dallas actually was blowing off fireworks,
So they
and on time for us.
coordinated that with your son's wedding.
They did.
Now, is he right in Dallas or one of the suburbs?
He's in Dallas. He's in the city.
Okay.
So
Yeah, my son lives in North Dallas, McKinney.
okay.
Which
Okay,
is
yeah, he's in University Park, so he's right there near SMU, and
right where he's at.
And yeah, beautiful area.
Matter of fact, Zig Ziglar's office was right in that area. His original
Really?
office is where they're at now is a little bit west of there. But whenever I'm down there, I get over to visit Lori and Tom Ziegler and the whole clan. So.
Awesome. I like to visit our old friend of ours, Don Citizen.
Oh yeah, Don's down there. He had COVID when I was down there last time. So. Although I got some news while I was down there.
What's that?
My son and my daughter-in-law, I was at the island making a sandwich or something. They kind of surrounded me and just stared at me. And I'm like, what's going on? And my son says, what do you think about number 12? Well, to put that in context, we currently have 11 grandchildren. And I was doing the mental math. And then my daughter-in-law says, say something, Papa. And I was like, do you know where these things come from? But we're expecting our 12th grandchild towards the end of July. So
congratulations.
Sure, we'll be spending some extended time in Dallas from mid-July through probably the end of August.
Great town. Probably not the best time of year to be down there, but it's a great town. Lots of amazing, wonderful people. My son's in-laws are truly wonderful folks. We had a fantastic rehearsal dinner and wedding, and Bobby and Savvy, my new daughter-in-law's parents, wonderful people. I thought it was pretty funny when Bobby looked at me and he said, "Yeah," because I was told, paying for weddings a lot like buying a Mercedes-Benz and then driving it straight from the dealership to right off a cliff. And I said, "Yeah," and I know the feeling because I put a pretty hefty down payment on that car the night before. So I get it, but it's all fun. It was just so well done and so well executed. And so kudos to my son Liam and his wife Bess, and to a long and happy and prosperous life. But,
amen. How long have you been married?
Just over 31 years.
31.
You got me by a little bit, don't you?
A little bit. We're coming up on 47 this year. So, and God bless this woman for sticking with me. And it's
yes, there are miracles.
This would be one of them.
These are true living miracles, and I get it.
When I teach time management, I say basically there's 3 types of time management. There's the old Covey method, the 1, 2, 3 ABC, very organized, detailed. There's the mind mapping method where you just kind of put things and draw little arrows and circles, for the creatives. And then there's the marry a redhead method. You just tell her where you need to be and when you need to get there, and she makes sure I'm there. And I can't teach that to anyone. But I would advise you to get yourself a redhead.
You see drawing lines in other maps like the mind thing. I'm thinking John Madden.
And
trying to do that. Good crazy guy.
Yeah, none of us are going to get out of this world alive, but we've lost a couple of good ones in the past week. Betty White, John Madden. And over the course of this past year, and COVID related, some of them, Charlie Pride passed away. A few of them, but it really isn't about that. It's what are you doing with the moments that you have? And that's why I appreciate your show so much, because you're out here just trying to make sure people understand. Don't save it all so you can't.
Yeah, and also it's about it's planning. Make plans. You make plans for everything, vacations and everything else. And I get kind of tired of beating this bush, but planning. I was thinking about driving in today, and it's like, look at this again. Now we're buying. The government is buying 500 million more tests, and they're buying, instead of 10 million, they're buying 20 million of these new pills that's coming out. I think it's Moderna that made it, or Pfizer. I can't remember. And these pills that are coming out that are given to you when you're in the hospital to help alleviate these symptoms. We're still reacting. We're 2 years into this, and all we're doing is we're still reacting, and we still don't know. If you bring this conversation up in any circle, somebody's going to tell you you're wrong, and here's the right answer, and it's the opposite of what you're thinking, and it's going on and on and on and on, and it's this misinformation.
Well, that was the
poor
problem at the
information.
beginning, though, I think, Bill. There was so much misinformation and fake news prior to COVID that when COVID came out, everybody's like, they're just making this stuff up, right?
Well,
And then there's this camp that still believes that this is made up.
Yeah.
And guys, I'm
And
here to tell
you listen to the news, and they're telling you, okay, the hospitals are filling up, and they're filling up with non-vaccinated people, mostly.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you're trying to make them feel guilty for making the choice they made, and I don't believe that's fair. People have to make a choice, and if you sit here and you trust the government to tell you this is a good thing or not, you need to do your homework. You need to learn about these vaccines and the technology behind it, and then make your own decisions. But don't feel guilty if you're choosing not to get vaccinated, because I get that.
It's like any statistic, though. It's how you use it or wield it. But the statistics themselves, the information is good.
Yeah.
But
you can't fight real numbers.
What is the old saying? 97% of all statistics are made up on the spot. It could be 86. I'm not sure what the number is. But when people have gone out and done the work and collected the data, and they've collected, well, go back, we just recently lost Walter Cronkite as well, and and he would just say that there's a statistics report: 95.2% of all hospitalizations are non-vaccinated people. Now, moving on to New York, I mean,
Right.
he wasn't coloring it with his own, you need to get out and get vaccinated,
Right.
right? He was just saying, here's the information, take it and make a decision. But today, everybody's trying to make a decision for us.
There's people in the hospital that have been vaccinated. They've been boosted.
Mhm.
They've done everything the right way, and they're still there. And then there's the folks that think, okay, I've already had it, so, or I want to get it because then I have the immunities and I won't get it again. It's like, well, no, now you are.
That's the old mumps thinking. When I was a kid growing up, somebody on the block got mumps, and our mothers had a sleepover at their house, so the rest of the kids would get mumps, get it over with, and move on.
And I'm a big fan of herd immunity.
Yeah.
I am a big fan. I spent the 16 of my 20 years in the trading pit were in the world's largest trading pit, Eurodollars. And, you build up so many immunities, you just don't get sick.
Yeah.
You're just.
I mean, you're in a sick environment, but you're.
There's sick people in the environment.
That's true.
But most of those couldn't be cured anyway. But interesting place. But yeah, so we have all this misinformation out there and lack of information. We've got the CTU and the CPS banging heads, Chicago Public Schools and the Chicago Teachers Union. And
that's the first time this has happened.
Late last night, they vote that the Teachers Union votes they're not going back to classes. And I get that. It's not a healthy environment. And more kids are coming down with this, especially Omicron viral section of it. And it just spreads so wildly. It just makes sense. 330,000 kids woke up this morning to find out they're not going to school.
So let me ask you this on that. You mentioned it. And I did see a statistic, I believe yesterday, that 95% of all cases right now are the Omicron variant. How do they know that? I mean, they stick a swab in your nose and pull it out.
Test for it yet.
It says positive or negative. How do they know? What's their statistical group that they're looking at? Their sample group.
That's a great question.
It's
a great question because I don't know that.
Do you have an innovative strategy to?
Yeah, stay home.
That would be the best
chill out
thing.
For a little bit, but look, we got mental issues now. We're coming on 2 years.
I don't have mental issues. What are you talking about?
Right? I mean, it's been 2 years, and I don't care how happy a person you are, and how it takes a toll.
Yep.
It takes a toll on everybody, and especially if you're not in a good relationship, or maybe if you're just alone, it's got to be a heavier toll. and we've got to figure out ways. We got to get ahead of this. We got to quit reacting to what's going on. We're in the city of Chicago, we're reacting to the crime levels, instead of getting out in front of these things.
Can I go back to a guest we had on Two Ball Guys and a Microphone way back when we were in the Harvard radio station 101.3?
I remember that hour drive out there for
that was
6 a.m.
that was
radio call.
We did that quite a bit. What Chuck Inman, the author of the book Chemical Brain Freeze, goes into some of what's happening in our brain when we're in conflict. And I won't go into the whole thing, but basically, when we're in conflict, our body produces cortisol and adrenaline. So we're ready to, beat the snot out of whoever. And cortisol is our body's natural painkiller, but it also, when cortisol gets into the neocortex, it shuts off creative and cognitive thinking, leaves us in fight or flight. Now, if we've practiced the fight thousands of times, like an NFL player, not the Bears, but like a normal NFL player, then we can perform under stress, in conflict. But for most of us, when we're in a conflict we don't understand, we don't know how to operate in that area. Well, I called Chuck to talk about, because I had this thought, because everything we were looking at was external conflict, spousal conflict, a guy cuts you off in traffic conflict, these type, and I get that. Referee making bad calls. I get that. But what about internal conflict? What about our self-talk that says you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, and doggone it, people don't like you, right? And you get this internal conflict going. Is that also producing cortisol and limiting your ability to think creatively and cognitively? And he said, absolutely. Now think about this for a second.
Okay.
We have been living in conflict for the past 2 years. Right, we've been living in.
I could argue we've been living in conflict the last 2,000 years, but okay.
Serious conflict.
Yeah.
Right, where conflict is the number one way of operating.
Yeah.
So if we look at what's going on in our Congress, we look at what's going on in our state, we look at what's going on in leadership of so many places. When you're operating in conflict, and you have lost the ability to think creatively and cognitively. So all we're doing is yelling at each other, pointing fingers at each other, and going down. And Chuck gives a very simple 4-step process to get out of this conflict and return to cognitive creative thinking. Again, the name of the book is Chemical Brain Freeze. The author is Chuck Inman. And he says the first thing you do is stop. Recognize that you're in conflict. Because many times we don't recognize we're in conflict until we're right in the middle of it.
Well,
right?
I think, historically for me in my life, I would get to a point of frustration.
Right.
And I knew I was going through this process. And once I got to that breaking point, everything all of a sudden would flip.
Yep.
And the sun would start shining again, and the world was more clear.
God is in his heaven, and all's right with the world. The second thing, once you realize and you've stopped, take a deep breath. When adrenaline hits your body, your breathing goes shallow, your blood goes to your extremity, you're ready to enter the battle. But when you take that deep breath, it shuts off the amygdala, it turns off the production of cortisol and adrenaline, and prepares you to return to creative cognitive thinking. The third step is go to your happy place, right? Have a happy memory, that your best happy memory of your life that you can grasp even when you're in conflict. For me, it was state track meet my senior year when I came around that final curve to win the gold medal, and 20,000 people came up. I can still remember that to this day, and it still gives me that rush of dopamine. You see, the dopamine and the cortisol are oil and water. Once the dopamine is being produced, it flushes the cortisol out of your neocortex. And
you're getting really deep on me.
Well, it's a little deep, but it's pretty simple. And the last thing is ask yourself a question. And the question I teach all my clients is, how important is it? When you look at those 4 steps, stop, breathe, go to your happy place, and ask yourself a question, and we can get out of this conflict. This is something that needs to be taught or understood. And our parents said, take 3 deep breaths before
I can think of a number of different ways in which to get to this point too. And the simplest way is choice. Make a choice.
But that's hard to do when you're in conflict.
It's you can get up every day and you can decide, okay, here we are at the beginning of a new year. So everybody, it kind of has, okay, I'm going to do this in the new year, and I'm going to be more energetic, and I'm going to be more positive, and I'm going to push harder, and I'm going to do more of these and less of those. And we do all those things. We have the choice to make that decision every day, any day, regardless of the beginning of the year or or Christmas in July. But it's to me, because, and I've been through this, and I just went through this because I'm not a big planning person. I'm not a planner. I don't write a script for the show. There is no script. It's about having conversations with people, and I think we get more out of that than trying to script something. But you still, you got to have that positive. You got to have that desire to be positive. In other words, you can't take it to like smoking. You can't quit smoking until you want to quit smoking. You have to have that desire. Because if you don't want to quit,
and if you want more on this topic, tune in this week to Two Bald Guys and Mike, because this is exactly what we're going to be talking about.
There's another thing. You're back. I was a guest on your show a number of times. Two Bald Guys and a Microphone, and what a great show that was, and what an interesting time. Certainly much better times than we're going through right now, but and now you're back. You guys are bringing it back and resurrecting Two Bald Guys and a mic, or what? And a mic now?
And a mic. Two Bald Guys and Mike.
Okay.
This is an actual physical person. This is a microphone.
Right.
This is Mike. But it is a bit of a play on words. And obviously, I'm not bald right now, but I do identify as a bald guy.
I've seen him bald.
But going back, I really like what you said, but is the choice really ours? What patterns have we got stuck in? I've talked to so many people who why don't you quit smoking? Oh, I've tried everything. Everything. When the doctor tells you you're going to die, you quit smoking. Our good friend Tommy Sellers, I love Tom, and gosh, he was such a good friend of mine, and I was blessed to be his coach for a while. And one of the things during our coaching process, my coaching wasn't stuck on business, stuck on life. It's, what do you need? And he said, Tim, can you help me quit smoking? And I said, well, I can, but we have to work together on this. So we went for a month or so, and he got from a pack down to 2 or 3 cigarettes a day. And then he called me with that deep baritone voice and a little rasp in it that day. He goes, Tim, I figured out how to quit smoking. I go, really? How's that? He goes, just get throat cancer. And I'm like, oh my God. And that's why he told me he had cancer. And the next year and a half, 2 years of his battle with cancer, we lost him in March of last year.
Right.
But those next 2 years were a joy to watch a guy beating cancer. Now, the cancer eventually took his life, but it didn't beat him down. He was positive right up to the end. He was working, and he was, it's just like, this thing, it's not going to take my spirit. And that's the problem, Bill. I think what's going on is a lot of people have lost their spirit in this.
I can't argue with that. I agree with you. And I think I probably have fallen into that trap on certain days at certain times. And as we sit back and reflect, there's a lot of reflection going on, right? When you have all this time to yourself, you're not commuting, you're not at work.
Bill, I don't have my glasses on this morning. Can you read the comments we have on the screen over here?
Oh, thanks, Shelly. Good morning, Shelly. Shelly from Snarf Foods. Awesome treats. We got Kent Jones checking in because he couldn't make it here this morning. He had some lame excuse.
Yeah, I don't know. Dog ate the homework, or
right.
The daughter ate the homework, something. I'm not
couldn't
sure.
find the car keys.
Yeah,
but
no, actually, I saw him at the gym this morning. He was there. He was there working out. His little got someone in the family who's.
So okay, all right. So Kent's asking. I'm trying to read too because we have 2 guys here that can't read. But Kent, what type of strategy would I employ to battle the weirdness of this time? Kind of strategy. Well,
an innovative strategy. I think he's asking for.
Well, if you're talking about mental, that's one thing. You're talking about physical, that's and I'm in the financial side of things. One of the things you need is peace of mind. Okay, so whether that's with your investments, whether with your portfolio, or with your personal life, you need peace of mind. That reduces the stress, which probably reduces all these dopamines and crystallines and things that you're talking about.
We wanted to increase the dopamine,
okay,
lower the cortisol, lower the conflict, right? Which is exactly what you're saying. Less conflict leads to a better, less stressful life.
And you make better decisions. If you're you're well rested, you're going to make better decisions. You're healthy, you're going to make better decisions. You're not under the gun. You think things through and think them out. We live in a time where everything is so instantaneous, and instant news, instant feeds, phones, Facebook, everything. Slow down a little bit. Trust me, you're not going to miss anything. You're not. If you just take it a little bit slower, and relieve that stress and quit pushing, you'll find that things will come a little bit easier to you. You'll probably find greater success.
I was on a call yesterday with Rocky Romero, who does these groups, and he was talking about ramping up, getting bigger, getting larger. And I said, I think the secret is actually getting smaller, but having more impact on a smaller group. Because if you can have a positive influence on 5 people in such a way, those 5 people want to go out and do the same thing for 5 more people, the multiplication factor takes over. It's like the difference between leadership and management. A leader creates more leaders and the organization thrives. A manager stymies other leaders because he doesn't want to lose his job.
And boy, oh boy, do we have a lot of folks that we could point out here and there and everywhere that lack any type of leadership skills.
Why is it important that you have a good, solid financial advisor, financial mentor in your 5?
Well, think of the importance of it. The whole goal of going to work, you get out of college, you get a job, you want to go to work and you're earning money. Really, the whole goal ultimately is to be able to put enough money away to retire. And because then you can do whatever you want. And retirement can last 30 plus years. So it takes a long time. But what do most people do? Most people, they go get a job and they say, okay, I have a 401k, so I'm going to put money in a 401k. Don't know how much to put in, but they'll match 3%, so I'll put 3% in. And then they say, I don't know which to invest in, but I'll just invest in this and this and this. And then, when I ask people, I said, let's take a look at your portfolio. Let's look at your 401k and what you got going on there. And I'll say, do you know what you're invested in? No. Do you know how much it costs you? No. People love rate of return. So you ask, what's the rate of return? Although that's not terribly as important. And they won't know.
Yeah.
And so you blindly throw money away for what could be 30 plus years of working, could be 40 plus years of working. And then you just have a hope and a prayer that in the end that it's enough that you can go live the rest of your life and not worry about running out of money, not worried about running into financial difficulties and troubles. It boggles my mind that people typically, when I meet with people is usually when they're in their mid to late 50s, early 60s. That's when they're panicking.
Yeah.
And they're like, I want to retire and I got all this stuff and I have no idea what it does for me.
Got a mortgage, you got a new car, you got 8 credit cards.
I got life insurance policies. I got a long-term care policy. I got an annuity over here. But I don't know what it does for me. So those are what I call tools. Those are tools in your retirement bag, and they're all good tools to have. The idea is you just now need to learn how to use those tools. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what I bring to the picture.
I have lots of tools, but I'd rather hire a carpenter when something needs to be done in my house. And I think that's the same thing with having a strong financial person in your hip pocket.
Yeah,
is someone who can put that together and you can trust. Was it Jeff Foxworthy says the 2 people you really don't want to have a strong Southern accent is your brain surgeon and your financial planner. Hey, Mo, grab that there ball mason jar and let's throw her in the backyard for a while and see what happens.
Yeah, right. Let's bury some in there. Let's bury some money in the yard and let's see how it grows. So many people talk about balancing and rebalancing of portfolios. There's a lot of jargon out there that folks, it's just designed to have you take action and make movements so that people
create commissions.
And it doesn't have to be that difficult. You can simplify it. And folks, I sit down and have conversations with people all the time, and they're just like, wow, okay. this is not as big a deal as I thought, or maybe it's more easy to understand than I had anticipated. Because not everybody's a finance person. Everybody has their niche and what they're good at, and I've been telling people a lot lately since I'm getting older that I'm not as good with names, but I'm very good with numbers. So if you just call yourself number 9,522, I'll never forget that from you.
Hi, I'm 3380. How are you?
There you go. But it's it's such an important aspect of life. It truly amazes me how fewer people actually go to see an advisor and go to see a professional. And I get it. It's a touchy subject, right? Money is it's the ultimate. I don't want anybody to know about my financial life. And trust me, I know all about it.
Yeah.
All right. I've been through it. I've lived it. I've had hardships like anybody else. I've had good times like anybody else. Great years, bad years.
Well, the problem with getting people to talk about their money. And I go back to my days as a financial advisor with Edward Jones and First Midwest Bank.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Yeah, well, it's okay. I survived. Once they all talk about their money, they will tell you everything else. Nothing is off limit. And some of the things I've had to ask people, I don't need to know that.
Well, there are things, but it's so important in that conversation just to listen, because I guarantee it. So I always start off when I speak in front of a group, and I've done this many times on the show, where I say, hey, there are two things I know spouses never talk about, and that's money and sex. And I'm here to help you with one of those. And I get
I have the other one.
Yeah, I get the chuckles, but what it does is it breaks it up a little bit, and people just say, okay, maybe this won't be so boring, because you want to kill a party, walk in a room and say, let's talk life insurance. And people just automatically shut down because people have these myths about what they believe investing is, about what they believe insurance is, about what they believe in annuities are. Our friend Don Sivison, I was down visiting in October, and I had the distinct privilege and pleasure of having lunch with him. And he was telling me about an issue in a situation where they were going to be having a big event, and the speaker coming in was someone that a couple of the people being invited to the event as guests did not like this speaker because he was a finance guy, and all he did was push annuities. And he's like, we're concerned because these are two of our biggest donors and we don't want to upset them. And I just said, Don, there's two things going on here that are wrong. Number one is your two biggest donors probably just don't know enough about annuities to know when they're good and when they're right and when they're not right for you. And then you also have a speaker coming in now who is not educating those people properly. I said it's a bad combination. Yeah. So you need the speaker to come in, and he needs to be more educational, and he needs to get people to understand they're not the end all be all, but they are a very important part of many people's portfolios.
Well, and I think you'll agree. And Kent and I at the radio station, most of the shows that he's put on, him and Peter have put on over the last couple of years, is helping people find their why. Because until they have the why, everything else is just useless information because they're not going to do anything. Hey, we're at the bottom of the hour, and how can people get a hold of you if they'd like to find out more about innovative strategies that could help them?
Yeah, and there's if you go to billhaase.com, that's BILLHAASE.com, it'll bring you to my page right here, and I'm with Wella Financial, to give you a little bit of that information, and you can reach out to me at bill@billhaase.com. So we've made that change since this show has started, and we've got more changes coming up and more changes going on as we go forward. You'll see some differences in many small ways, and then one very, very big way. So we will be balancing two different studios going forward. So
I've heard rumors, and this is good. I'm very happy for you and
it's exciting
connections. Life is all about connections. Let's face it. And those things, you and I met a lot of years ago now. I don't even remember when, probably out in Libertyville or
probably I could be. It's over 10 years ago. I know that, but
you were in the food industry at one point.
I was,
and that's when we met. So
okay.
That's it's been a while.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite worlds, food.
I like food, obviously. It's it's a special place. Uh, what does Zig Ziglar say? Oxygen's not the most important thing in this, or money's not the most important thing in this world. It's about that far behind oxygen, and then food's next. It's
Food's right there. I got to
oxygen,
experience some
money,
great
food.
restaurants down in Dallas. Terry Black's. It's a funny story there because so the groomsmen all came into town and we were on a really tight schedule, and but we wanted to try Terry Black's barbecue, and best in Texas. And so we get all the way there and we get online, and the line is so long. We get just inside the door and we look at the watch. I go, guys, we got to go.
We don't have time.
We don't have time. We've got to be at the next event in 45 minutes, and there's no way we're getting through this line and eating and there in 45 minutes. Not happening. So we had to leave, which saved me about $300-400 in lunch.
So did you stop at Dickie's?
With a bunch of five or six very hungry
have you
young men.
Eaten at Babes?
Not have you? No.
Babes in Frisco.
Okay.
Highly recommend it. It's right off the North Dallas tollway as you're heading north. It's just Babes fried chicken. It's a home style fried chicken, and they put it together down there.
Well, now you got me going. But we could talk about food all day long.
Back to innovative
I could
strategies.
for sure. That's
squirrel.
Yeah, exactly, squirrel there. But let's get back into the peace of mind side of things. There's so many different decisions we can make that help bring peace of mind. Working with a financial advisor helps you get peace of mind. You work with maybe a will and trust lawyer, but you do that because it helps you bring peace of mind. You work with an accountant because it helps you bring peace of mind. You make sure your car goes to the auto mechanic instead of, I like to fix all my cars, but and I still do all my own
even
work.
with the newer cars.
Yeah. I'll still do the brakes and the oil changes and the basic stuff. And it depends how far it goes. But
I just called Denny.
But Denny's a great guy and he does good work. And so does State Road Auto. Dominic over there does great stuff. But so lots of good people. But you want to make sure things are done right.
Yep.
And if that's not your world, then you better seek out an expert. We do it all the time in so many different ways, but we don't seem to be as concerned about doing it when it comes to financial stuff. Like I said, people will plan a vacation. They'll spend a whole year planning a vacation. They'll put money away for that vacation. And then they go on that vacation, and I guarantee you that vacation will wind up costing them more money than they had planned for any number of different reasons.
And then it increases the stress level, which reduces the fun of the vacation.
Yeah.
Oh, why can't we go to the water park? Well, that wasn't in the budget for the vacation.
Right. I remember going on a ski trip, and the very first day, I lost a ski. It came off. Strap broke. This is back when we had straps for safeties on skis. And I watched the ski go down just a little bit down the hill and right over the cliff. Well, you don't just put $600, $700, $800 extra into the kitty for thinking that, I'm going to have to replace a pair of skis.
Buy a new pair of skis.
So things like that happen. And then things like that happen in real life too. You put all kinds of money away, but then life happens, and life happens all the time at any and every age. In this case, maybe in retirement, life happens and you become ill.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a short-term illness. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's long-term. Are you prepared for that? Some people I talk to and say, I'm going to self-insure. That's great. How much money a month are you putting away for that?
Yeah.
Look at what? And well, if you're self-insuring, you pay your car insurance every month, you pay your health insurance every month, you pay your homeowner's insurance every month. So how much money are you putting away per month for your care in retirement? And I guarantee you, I have yet to ever meet anybody who said, I'm putting X amount of dollars away. They're not.
That's one thing in my life I think that I did right for sure. I mean, I think I've done a few other things right, like my bride, but I did raise my right hand and swear to Uncle Sam, at 18 years old, joined the United States Army, had a 21-year career. And so the health side of it, that's taken care of. I don't have to worry about a catastrophic illness taking away.
Oh, and you
those-
deserve that.
So that's, a peace of mind for me.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right in these areas that a financial planner needs to be right up there with your doctor, your dentist, your lawyer, your auto mechanic, your yoga instructor. I don't know if that's important to you or not, but
I had to give up yoga.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and get back into that, though.
I've never done it. I don't.
I got into it for a little while, but I have bad hips. So I try to do yoga to help strengthen that area, but I found it probably too weak. But I need to get back into it because I want to get back into skiing as soon as I can get out there. Today's not the day.
No, today, yeah. Just put your coat out and put the skis on, and you'd be going 100 miles an hour.
Exactly. But it's a good point.
What's one step somebody can take, whether they're making $30,000 a year, 100,000, 100 million? What's one step somebody can take today to start gaining that peace of mind for their?
Yeah, you can always start putting money aside. Making small investments. There are $5 investments that you can get started in. There are the folks who are making the millions. We're not going to worry about them right now. But for the folks who are struggling and making that $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year, you know what? Putting just a little bit of money away. I've worked with one of my clients' sons, who's here in McHenry. He's putting $50 away a month in investing and $50 a month away in a whole life insurance policy. That insurance policy gains cash value like you wouldn't believe over a lifetime. And that's going to grow risk-free.
Right.
So he's taking some risk, and then he's taking other investments that are not at risk. And by the time he gets to retirement age, and probably much sooner, he'll probably be able to retire much sooner. He's going to be very well off, and we can project that out. We can show him.
Yeah. When I was with Edward Jones, I would go speak at the high schools and other things. And I had 2 high school seniors actually come to my office. And they started a $25 a month DCH program into just a simple mutual fund. I forget if it's American Funds or which
probably
one.
was American Funds.
Well,
if you're working with a basic financial advisor, you're all in an American Fund.
Right. And I love Lord Abbott too, but there's another whole other world there. That was in 2002, 2003. In 2017, I was at Pistachey Golf Course with a friend going out to golf. And here's this young man came over to me. He's now in his mid-30s. Okay. And he came over and he just gave me the biggest hug. And I've seen him maybe once or twice since then. But his portfolio, his financial portfolio, not his business, not his assets, his financial portfolio at 35 was over $1 million. Because at age 18, he started an investing discipline.
Yes.
And so as he got older and he got more money coming in, he was more disciplined of putting that away. Yeah. And then,
and you need to get that started, and parents, because we know mom and pop don't talk about it. They don't talk to their kids about it. So and it's not everyone, but the majority of folks, they just don't have that discipline from the get-go. We used to have a little thing called allowance. Remember as a kid, you do chores.
I grew up on a farm.
Okay. So in my world, growing up, if we would do the chores that we were going to have to do anyway, we would get an allowance.
What were your chores that you did for your allowance?
Like cutting the lawn, which was at that time was probably about an acre when I was 8, 9, 10 years old. It was a big job. Always had that, taking out garbage. Making sure you made your bed, it was whatever, mom and dad wanted you to do that made it less that they would have to do.
We farmed 1,000 acres. We raised 150 head of hogs every year. We had 10 cows. 5 of them were milk cows that we milked by hand, and 200 chickens every year. So my
first job was shoveling out stalls for horses. So I know about crap jobs.
There was a lot of, we used to, spread manure. You clean out the chicken yard or the hog yard or the corral, and all of that became fertilizer for the fields.
Yeah.
And Dad always told me, he said, go grab the politician. and, so that was just his nickname for the manure spreader.
Okay.
Well, I was MC of the parade down here one year, and the Tractors for Charity are coming through, and I remember Kevin Bauer was on an International H pulling a manure spreader, and I said, "Here comes Kevin Bauer on an International H pulling one of our local politicians," with the mayor sitting about 4 feet away from me, and she was not happy with me that day. We are in the last 15 minutes. Bill, where's time gone?
Yeah, it does fly by. And I did say this was going to be kind of random. I got to be honest. It's just been a tough year to get started. Like I said, I had the big event with my son down in Dallas New Year's Eve. We were coming home New Year's Day, and lo and behold, we had a little snowstorm up here, and our flights got canceled. So we had to scramble. And during the day, we wound up catching a flight late Saturday night. We got us only as far as St. Louis. Then we were trying to figure out, do you rent a car and drive the rest of the way? Do you get another plane flight? And now we got to get a hotel. And the numbers just kept adding up. And long story short, we wound up getting a hotel, had 4.5 hours of sleep, was to get up and catch the next flight home. And that flight got delayed till from 7 a.m. to 8 to 9, then to noon. And we did make it back by about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But, it's like planes, trains, and automobiles. It's like, just a little bit of everything to just find our way back home. Threw us off a little bit. I get up Monday and I was like, okay, I'm supposed to be all pumped up and ready to go. It's a new year. Let's get going. Attitude. Yeah. And then it's like, well, let's kind of ease into this. Nobody's going anywhere. We have, I have a number of folks that I'm working with right now, and we're in different stages. So we do check-ins and things of that nature. But so we're kind of easing into this new year and kind of tiptoeing because there's just a lot going on. I think Kent was talking about, what's going on with the markets here. The markets have a tendency to keep going up. This is what we call the Santa trade that's been going on, and generally it should end.
The Santa trade.
Yeah. So between Christmas and some point in the first week of the new year, the market has historically has had a tendency to go higher and to go up. And the good feel time. And now also understand this is a time of year when the big boy traders, they're not even around. They're not involved in it. So it can be very light volume. Very light volume can push things a great distance. But, there's that other theory that I always play with is the markets will typically trade in the direction that creates the greatest amount of pain. And if you have so many people out there who think the market is on such shaky ground and their expectations of a pullback and rightfully so. We've had a 12-year bull run. We have done nothing but print money. And if we're going to continue to print money as a government, don't look for those markets to fall down too much. We're giving money out right and left. People are, the great walkout. I watched Fox News this morning briefly, and they said, the number of people leaving their jobs is astronomical. It continues to be such a big event. And then I get on the news in a car coming over here, and they said, we've hired 879,000 people last month. And it's like, when you get in these conflicting informations and misinformation or these numbers might be viable, but they're just presented in the wrong way. It becomes a real head scratcher. Which way is the market going to go? How are things going to go? And folks, there's just ways to protect against. It doesn't matter which way it goes, because there's money to be made when a market goes up and money to be made when it goes down. It's just we just have that mindset that you only make money on the upside.
And the only way you're going to do that successfully, and I go back to it, is having an educated financial professional in your hip pocket and have someone who's there watching over you. You're a doctor. You're not watching over your funds. You may be a really smart guy, but you're not that smart. Some of my dumbest investors were some of the smartest people, I had. They're, lawyers and doctors. And I figured, well, they're so smart doing this. And the one doc was a surgeon. I'm like, well, doc, tell you what, I need an appendectomy, so I'm going to perform it on myself. Oh, that'd be stupid. Well, yeah, and it's dumb that you're trying to manage your funds when you're out there saving lives. You know,
Well, you see people. We're networkers, right? We go to a lot of networking events and groups and things like that. And in those groups, you see a lot of people in retirement age that should be retired. But why aren't they? Because they didn't talk to an advisor, and they're still humping away at making the almighty dollar because they didn't plan properly. And that's part of it.
yeah,
It's not for everybody. There's still plenty of people that just love
maybe
what they
they
do.
like handing out carts at Walmart.
Well, maybe.
And some of them do.
Yeah,
They
and
need
that's
the
fine.
social interaction, but most of them,
That's fine.
the guys in Home Depot.
But we've had these 2 years to reflect, and we have had the great walkout and people leaving, and everybody's sitting there going, well, how the hell are these people living? What are they doing if nobody's working? Well, it's not that they're not working. They started businesses. Over 500,000 new businesses have been started in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Way more than that. And so people are out there making money. They're just making it in different ways. And don't forget, folks, we had all kinds of perks, right? We had the government throwing money at us. We had the child money coming at us now. We had PPP loans. I mean, if you went through the first 2 rounds of the PPP loans and you had a business, and let's say, and I know a friend of mine that did this, he got $150,000 in the first round, $150,000 in the second round. These are loans that do not have to be paid back. So what did he do? He sold what he had in his business and took all that money and bought an RV and drove out west for 3 months with his family. So if you're going to throw money at people and then you wonder why they don't want to work.
Well, the money went back to the economy. It kept the RV guys.
And all that money eventually winds up back in the market.
Yeah.
Right. It winds up back in the financial market. So eventually, whether you're giving it up through a 401k or you're doing other investments, or you're just paying out to somebody else who's then putting the money in the market, but it eventually winds up in the market. So when they turn that spigot off, that's when we got to start being concerned. And that may not be too far into the future. We'll see. I don't know. They keep coming up with new.
Yeah, whoever does it isn't going to get reelected.
They come up with that infrastructure bill, $1.75 trillion. And nobody reads the fine print, because in that fine print, there's another little section that says, well, we can print another 1.75 trillion if we need it.
Yeah.
If we think we need it. And you don't think they're going to want to need that? Puerto Rico. Here's a classic. Puerto Rico stopped mandating people coming to their country that they get tested for COVID before they come. What they do is they get tested when they get there. Here's a beautiful thing.
I understand.
So what Puerto Rico says is, if you test positive, you could pay $300 and we'll just forget it ever happened. No kidding. So interesting part is, how many people do you think is testing positive when they go to Puerto Rico? 99%.
Because they're doing the test.
They're doing the test. People, we got to wake up. We need to take things in our own hands and quit trying to sit there and talk to different health department people and getting one section where one guy says this and another guy says that, and we're going down to 5 days of quarantine instead of 10 days. But then you don't need a test, or you do need a test, and if it's positive, go 5 more days. It's false positive tests. The reality is, if you don't get it, I don't know how you dodge it. I mean, I haven't gotten it yet. And I say yet. My wife and I were praying that as long as we could get through the wedding, anything after that, we'll take the hit for the family. But just get us to that point. And
I had it in February 2020 before March.
Okay.
And I was sick for 8-9 days, and I don't get sick.
Yeah.
And I went out to the Great Lakes, Lovell, and they tested, oh, you have type A influenza. I'm like, my back was so sore I couldn't breathe. I didn't know what was hitting me. I mean, I went through chicken noodle soup like it was water, and eventually it started getting better. But it took me another probably 2 to 3 weeks to get my energy back.
Well,
and then
look at the opposite side of that. So, a buddy of mine who moved down to Southern Illinois. Hi, Dan. He wound up with a kidney infection. But it took him a week to figure it out, because he went in, they said, oh, you have COVID. Then he tested negative for COVID. Oh, then you have the flu. No, we tested negative for the flu. So he went 5 days
before identifying
what the problem was. And that's 5 days of some pretty serious pain. If you've ever had a kidney infection or liver infection, it's painful. And so, all kinds of crazy stuff have gone on. You can get all these numbers about how many people have died from COVID. Do we even know what the number is? How many people have that we didn't even know had it? How many people have passed away that we don't even know about? Look at Chicago. 779 murders last year.
Oh, just I bet it was more than that.
Yeah, I was surprised. I'm sure they're playing with those numbers because they'll probably say half of them died from COVID after getting shot. So
come in with a gunshot. Oh, you got COVID.
You got COVID. Yeah. So, numbers are a funky thing. When people start throwing numbers around, you got to really, really pay attention because numbers can be used to create pictures that may not really be the best, most clear, accurate.
Bill, we're in the final 5 minutes. I want to go to one more thing. First, I want you to, again, I'm going to put your website back up here on the page, your LinkedIn page. Tell people not only why, but why should they get a hold of you? What sets you apart from the other financial guys out there or girls?
Well, as Ken always points out, and as you pointed out in the introduction, I look at things a little bit differently. I know the old school ways. I know how Wall Street works. I understand how money flows in economies, and I understand the tools that are available to be used and how to use those tools, whether you want to learn how to be your own bank, whether you want to learn how to protect your investments in retirement over that time frame, how to get some tax-free income in retirement. Not all of it is going to be tax-free. I don't believe in selling everything you have now and paying the taxes now so you can get all tax-free later. Because it's too easy to say taxes are going up. Last time they went down, so let's just stick with that. But it's about having a conversation, and my mentality is I'm just trying to bring you peace of mind. I'm trying to get you to understand what tools you have, how to use them. If there are tools that I feel would fit better with your portfolio, then I will suggest those things. I don't sell anything. I just provide information and knowledge and allow people to make their own personal decisions because everybody makes decisions for different reasons. And like I said, you talk to a husband and wife when you sit down and have that conversation, the first one, and they're completely on two different pages because they've never had this conversation.
Yeah.
And it's about them all of a sudden learning about coming together about what they want together. And you can't retire. If you think you can go retire on your own and not have to worry about anything, I got news for you. It's not easy. There are so many decisions that you have to make, and their decisions are critical. Financial decisions are critical, especially within the 5 years before and the 5 years after your retirement age. That 10-year period is absolutely critical. If you take a 50% loss because that market went down in that time frame, you are forever changing your retirement plan. So there are times you really, really need to sit down with somebody and somebody like myself. Again, it's about having a conversation and learning.
Well, I like to say I haven't retired. I've just rewired.
There you go.
Because I don't know what it means to sit back and just sit still. I've always got that. I have just recently retired from coaching soccer.
Yep.
So I'm not actively on the sideline anymore. I retired from the military. I retired from the chemical sector. So I've retired a bunch of times, and I got a few more in front of me, I believe.
It happens more and more often to people in this lifetime too. We change jobs, and historically, my father, he only changed jobs like 2 or 3 times. Historically, that's what happened. And in my world, boy, I did 2 or 3 times every other year in the trading pits. But and since then, I mean, we've changed careers. We've had to adjust and adapt and move forward, move on. Things that in the past, we used to have pensions.
I have one of those.
Oh, lucky dog.
First of every month, Uncle Sam drops his check into my account.
That's a beautiful thing. So
it sure is. We're in the last minute, boy. We're wounding down the first show of 2022.
Going forward, we're going to bring on some very special guests that I am lining up. Looking forward to a new studio from time to time and here from time to time. And just bringing you stories about other people and how money works in their world, how it affects you and I in our world, and just financial literacy in general to help you understand how money flows, help you make better decisions. So thank you for coming out today. Thank you for listening in. Appreciate it very much. And we can cue up the music.
Cue up the music and start winding down.
Thanks, Coach.
Well, you've been thanks for allowing me to join you today. So you've been cutting net 116, done that right up here. Towers,
Hills, valleys, Henry County.
Henry County.